I was 10 when my grandfather handed me the small navy blue passbook. It wasn't flashy. No gold trim. No dramatic speech. Just his rough hands pressing it into mine while he sat in his recliner, oxygen tube humming softly beside him. "Don't let anyone tell you what this is worth," he whispered. Some things grow quietly. 3 weeks later, he was gone. My mom never liked Grandpa. She said he was old school, judgmental, cheap. The day after the funeral, she stormed into my room with a trash bag. She said we were starting fresh. That included anything he gave me. When she found the passbook in my drawer, she laughed. "A savings account?" She scoffed. "Your grandfather and his dramatic gestures." I tried to grab it back, but she was faster. She flipped through the pages, saw the tiny deposits, $50 here, $100 there, and rolled her eyes. "This won't even pay for a semester of community college," she said. Then she tossed it into the black trash bag with his old letters and the watch he'd promised to resize for me. I remember the sound more than anything, the dull thud of paper hitting plastic. That night, I dug through the outside bin under the porch light. It smelled like sour milk and wet cardboard, but I found it. The passbook was damp at the edges, but intact. I hid it inside a math textbook she'd never open. Years passed. Mom remarried. Her new husband moved us across town. Money was always tight, at least that's what she said. But somehow there was always cash for his truck upgrades and her weekend. Stress relief, shopping trips. When I turned 18, I brought the passbook to the bank listed on the front. The building hadn't changed. Same brick walls. Same brass door handles. I half expected them to laugh me out of there. Instead, the teller stared at the account number, then looked up at me. "Can you wait a moment?" she asked, her voice suddenly careful. 10 minutes later, a man in a grey suit stepped into the lobby. "I'm Mr. Davenport," he said. "The branch manager. Would you come to my office?" My stomach twisted. As I sat down, he closed the door gently and placed the passbook between us. "Your grandfather," he began slowly, "was a very deliberate man. He opened a folder from his desk drawer. And I don't think your mother understood what she threw away." Mr. Davenport adjusted his glasses and slid a thick stack of documents across the desk. "Your grandfather didn't just open a savings account," he said. "He structured it." Structured. The word felt heavy. He explained that what looked like small, random deposits were part of a custodial investment account. Every birthday, every Christmas, every report card where I brought home straight A's, Grandpa had quietly converted portions into long-term bonds and conservative index funds. That wasn't the real shock. "There's a maturity clause," Mr. Davenport continued. "Your grandfather met with me personally. He insisted that the account could not be accessed or closed by anyone, not even a legal guardian, without triggering a penalty that would redirect the funds to a trust." "A trust?" I repeated. "Yes, in your name." My heart started pounding. Mum had tried to close it. 3 months after the funeral, she'd walked into this very branch, death certificate in hand, claiming she needed to consolidate assets. Mr. Davenport remembered her clearly. "She was persistent," he said carefully. "But your grandfather anticipated that possibility. If anyone attempted to withdraw the funds before my 18th birthday, the account would automatically lock, roll into a protected trust, and receive a matched contribution from a secondary account your grandfather funded privately." A secondary account. Mr. Davenport turned the folder toward me. The number at the bottom didn't look real. It wasn't thousands. It wasn't even tens of thousands. It was 6 figures. My throat went dry. "That can't be right." "It is," he said gently. "Your grandfather believed in compound interest. And in you. The penalty Mom triggered by trying to empty the account had activated the matching clause. What would have been modest college money had doubled, then grown. and grown. She never knew. I asked. Mr. Davenport shook his head. We're not permitted to disclose. Protected trust. Details to unauthorized parties. I leaned back in the chair, dizzy. All those years of hearing how Grandpa left nothing. All the lectures about how I'd need loans. All the guilt about being a financial burden. Mom thought she'd thrown away a pointless little book. Instead, she detonated a clause that made it untouchable. And she had no idea. Mr. Davenport folded his hands. There is one more thing your grandfather requested. My pulse spiked again. He left instructions about when and how you were meant to use it, and suddenly I understood. This wasn't just money. This was strategy. Mr. Davenport didn't speak right away. He unlocked a small drawer in his desk and pulled out a sealed envelope, yellowed slightly at the edges. He asked me to give you this in person, he said. Only when you were legally an adult. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a single letter in Grandpa's careful handwriting. If you're reading this, it means two things. First, I'm gone. Second, someone tried to take what was meant for you. My chest tightened. I didn't leave you money so you could survive. I left it so you could choose. Choose. The letter explained everything. The savings account had always been bait simple enough to look small, harmless enough to tempt someone impatient. The real growth was hidden in layered investments and a trust structure that rewarded time and punished greed. And then came the condition. The funds were fully accessible to me now, but only for 3 approved purposes: higher education, starting a legitimate business, or purchasing a primary residence. If I used it for anything else before age 25, a percentage would automatically divert to a scholarship fund he'd quietly established in his hometown. He believed in accountability, Mr. Davenport said softly. There was more. If I completed a 4-year degree without withdrawing more than half the balance, the remaining portion would unlock an additional payout from a life insurance policy one Mum had never known existed. I stared at the numbers again. College without loans. An apartment in my own name. A future that didn't depend on my stepfather's temper or my mother's moods. Does my mother have any claim? I asked. No, Mr. Davenport replied firmly. She forfeited any potential oversight the moment she attempted unauthorized liquidation. The trust is solely yours. For the first time in my life, something felt steady. All those years, Mom told me Grandpa was controlling, dramatic, selfish. But this was protection. She'd always said, I need to stay home for community college because family helps family. Now I could leave. As I stood to go, Mr. Davenport added one last detail. There is an annual reporting requirement, he said. Your grandfather wanted me to check in each year to ensure you were progressing toward one of the 3 paths. He didn't trust me. I asked. A faint smile crossed his face. Oh, he trusted you, he said. He just didn't trust anyone around you. I walked out of that bank into sunlight that felt different, brighter, sharper. For the first time, I wasn't trapped. But I also knew something else. When Mum found out I wasn't staying home for community college, she was going to demand answers. And I had just enough power now to decide how much truth she deserved. I didn't tell Mum right away. For 2 weeks I played along. I nodded while she circled ads for the local community college. I listened as my stepdad muttered about how I'd better start contributing once I turned 18. Then the acceptance letter from a state university arrived. Not the one across town. The one 3 states away. I waited until Sunday dinner. Mum had made pot roast the kind she cooked when she wanted, to act like everything was stable. My stepdad was halfway through his 2nd beer when I placed the envelope on the table. I'm leaving in August, I said calmly. Mom blinked. Leaving where? I slid the letter toward her. She read it once. Twice. Her face shifted from confusion to irritation. You didn't apply there, she said. I did. With what money? My stepdad cut in. Out-of-state tuition isn't cheap. I held her gaze. Grandpa planned ahead. The room went quiet. Mum's fork hit the plate. Don't start romanticizing that man, she snapped. He left you a tiny savings account. I saw it. I know, I said evenly. You tried to close it. The color drained from her face. My stepdad looked between us. Close what? She ignored him. That account barely had anything in it. It doesn't matter what it had, I replied. It matters what you triggered. I explained it's simply custodial investments, a protected trust, penalty clauses. I didn't give exact numbers. I didn't need to. Her expression shifted again. This time it wasn't anger. It was calculation. So you're saying, she said slowly, there's money. There's enough, I answered. For family emergencies? My stepdad asked quickly. No. For helping with the mortgage? Mum pressed. No. Her voice sharpened. After everything we've done for you, I let out a quiet breath. Grandpa made it very clear. The money is for education, a business or a home. Not for anyone else. She stood abruptly. He manipulated you. He always wanted to turn you against me. I shook my head. No, he protected me. That was the moment I saw it. The realization settling in. She remembered the day she stormed into my room with that trash bag. She remembered laughing. She had tried to grab something she didn't understand, and it had slipped through her fingers forever. My stepdad muttered under his breath and left the table. Mum stared at me like I was a stranger. You think you're better than us now? She asked quietly. No, I said. I just finally have options. I stood, taking the acceptance letter with me. As I walked back to my room, I heard her say something I never heard before. I didn't know. Neither had I, but Grandpa had. The weeks before I left were tense. Mom oscillated between cold silence and forced sweetness. One night she offered to help me budget. Another, she casually mentioned how expensive medical bills could be if something happened to family. I kept my answers polite and short. The trust paperwork was finalized. 2 days after graduation, Mr. Davenport walked me through every signature, every restriction, every safeguard. You're in control now, he said. Just remember why it was built. I did. Move-in day came faster than I expected. My stepdad didn't help load the car. Mum stood on the porch with her arms folded, watching as I carried the last box out. When I hugged her goodbye, she stiffened at first, then softened just slightly. You'll see, she murmured. The world isn't as kind as you think. I almost told her that Grandpa never promised kindness. He promised preparation. College wasn't easy. I studied finance, ironically. I worked part-time on campus even though I didn't have to. I used only what I needed from the trust tuition. Housing, books. The rest stayed invested, compounding quietly, just like he said it would. Every year, I met with Mr. Davenport over video call for the required report. My grades stayed strong. My plan sharpened. By 22, I had an internship at an investment firm. By 23, a full-time offer. I still hadn't touched half the principal. On my 25th birthday, the final clause activated. The remaining balance unlocked the life insurance edition. The account doubled overnight. I didn't celebrate loudly. I didn't post about it. I didn't send a dramatic message home. Instead, I did something small and deliberate. I bought a modest house. In my name. No co-signer. No shared deed. No emotional leverage. When I signed the closing papers, I thought about that trash bag. About sour milk and porch light shadows. About a damp little passbook rescued from the garbage. Mum called a month later. I heard you bought a place, she said carefully. News travels fast in small circles. I did. There was a pause. Must be nice. It is. She didn't apologize. I didn't expect her to. But before we hung up, she said something quieter than usual. Your grandfather always did play the long game. I looked around my living room, the sunlight spilling across hardwood floors, the silence that belonged entirely to me. Yeah, I said. He did. Some revenge is loud. Some revenge is dramatic. Mine was compound interest,